Welcome to the part where we talk about video games, and today I'm gonna kill a few birds with one stone. And I'm not just talking about Assassin's Creed 1 game, I'm talking about Assassin's Creed in general. But particularly I am talking about this because I've gone ahead and tried Assassin's Creed Unity. Now you might be saying, Zach, Assassin's Creed Unity came out so long ago, well, 6 months, and I've been waiting to play it because of all the bad reviews and just in terms of production value and all of that, there's been so many problems. So I thought, hey, I'll wait a while and I'll try it when they've patched everything up. So I put in Assassin's Creed Unity, I loaded it up, it had a 6.5 gigabyte patch which I had to let download, got that done, installed the 6.5 gigabyte patch, played it up, and generally most of the problems that people were talking about are still there. Assassin's Creed Unity, should we go into it? Well, let's jump into the game and I'll show you some stuff and tell you about some stuff and what you probably should do with the Assassin's Creed series in general. So let's jump right in.
Are you prepared to travel the Eagle's path?
Boys ready.
Rise, assassin.
Amongst the violence.
The vote is cast, Grandmaster. The king will die.
Amongst the chaos.
Honor your father's memory.
I will find justice no matter the cost.
This is why I joined the Brotherhood.
For revenge.
For redemption.
Monsieur Maximilien de Robespierre.
I will never talk.
So let's talk about Assassin's Creed Unity first of all. The big controversy was that it wasn't really refined. There were a lot of mechanical problems, animation problems, all that sort of stuff. And I'm gonna chalk it up to one big feature that is actually pretty nice that they implemented into the game, which is the whole mob mechanic, where before in previous Assassin's Creed games you'd have maybe a couple NPCs wandering the streets, a couple characters here and there, but in Assassin's Creed Unity it's all set in the French Revolution, so you need an angry mob, basically. So basically wherever you go in the city, there's crowds and crowds of people, and it's really does sort of make it feel a bit more alive. But in terms of the actual mob, if you start to pay attention, you're going to notice some problems with it. First of all, in terms of a graphical approach, there's a lot of pop-ins. If you don't know what pop-ins are, it's basically when you're walking down the street and you can see quite far down the street and you can see graphical elements, whether it's characters, flags, buildings, just sort of pop into existence. That's called pop-in, and that's sort of not really something that you should be seeing in 2014 and 2015. In terms of the environment, Assassin's Creed Unity is like most of the other Assassin's Creeds. The environments are spectacular. It's really, really nice. It looks good despite the pop-ins and animation problems. But the environments and the lore and the history behind everything is always on point. They always get that part right. But the actual mob, the characters, if you start to walk around the city, you will see really weird animation problems. First of all, the ragdoll physics. Basically, when you kill someone and someone slumps to the ground, it's not very realistic, and you'll often see them contort into really weird positions, almost twisting themselves inside out. That's really weird. I've seen floating people walking down the street, and just in terms of variety when it comes to the mob, at first glance it seems like you got a really diverse crowd, but if you actually start looking at them, you'll walk by the same couple 3 or 4 times, the same child will run by you up to 5 times, and within the span of a minute. Now, one big feature of Assassin's Creed Unity is the whole multiplayer aspect, the whole concept of unity, where the storyline sort of unifies the Assassins and Templar storylines a little bit, and also the whole French Revolution, where they're supposed to be unifying into a common cause in terms of different groups, and also the multiplayer aspect where you're unifying with other players. In terms of the actual gameplay, the glitches, the mechanics and stuff like that, going a bit weird. The animation particularly is what peeves me off the most because, especially in combat, when you're stabbing people, slicing people, if there's animation errors in the combat, you don't actually know what's going on, and they happen quite often, and even the refinement of the animation is quite rough. When you stab someone, the sword is still moving all over their body and then they sort of slump to the ground in a really weird way, and that sort of takes out of the immersion of the game. And Assassin's Creeds are all supposed to be about immersing yourself into the world, so that's not so good. And also in terms of even cinematics, there's animation glitches in cinematics. Now there's been some very fanciful reports online of faces missing, entire skins being peeled off and stuff like that. Just a personal one I've got is in one really sad, somber scene where someone just died. The main character is still, the mouth talking animation was still going. So that was really weird because they were doing things where they're not supposed to be talking, but the mouth animation was still talking, and we were thinking, was the dialogue missing or something? No, it's just an animation error. So, Assassin's Creed Unity, still pretty much an Assassin's Creed game. If you've played Assassin's Creed before, you will know pretty much what it's about. The number of collectibles and stuff like that is insane this time. The number of chests and quests and side things, which are still all very shallow, very surface sort of quests. They're still there, but in more number, basically. If you look at the map, if you actually go around the map and see the number of icons on the map, it's mind-blowing how many icons are crowding the map. And I feel that they didn't have enough time to fully flesh out the game, so they just put in a whole bunch of stuff to make it seem like there was a lot, but in actuality, there's not that much there. So Assassin's Creed Unity, it's a so-so performance even after 6 months and the 6.5 GB patch. So, I'm going to be real here. Not all of us like or play Assassin's Creed in general, the whole series. There's a few, though, which I really, really like. And if you haven't played Assassin's Creed before, I don't recommend starting with Unity. It's not one of the more interesting titles. I recommend you start with the Ezio Trilogy. It's basically 3 games in one, and Assassin's Creed, the Ezio Trilogy, basically is considered one of the best Assassin's Creed out there. It'll give you the whole gist of what's going on and how everything works, and just the mechanics and storyline is really, really nice. And if you have managed to finish that, or if you don't want to start with that, I would recommend going ahead and playing the Assassin's Creed Black Flag, because Black Flag takes a completely different approach to the game. It's still very Assassin's Creedy, parkour-y, stabbing people, all of that, but it does have a huge part of the game which is all about ships and pirates, and Assassin's Creed Black Flag is very, very good. With Assassin's Creed Syndicate coming out, you can watch the E3 footage, you can watch some gameplay footage that people have been talking about, but again, with these games, there's sort of a trend now where what they show at E3 and at promotions and conventions is not actually what's going to be in the final game. It's a very vertical and narrow vertical slice of what you're going to be getting. So, with Assassin's Creed Syndicate, let it come out, have a look at what people are saying, see what the reviews are saying, and if it does actually live up to expectations and promises from the developers, which they're not gonna do a Unity again. If Syndicate turns out to be good, then you go buy it. Don't just pre-order it or buy it on day one. There's no, just be patient. Just wait and see how things go, and then you'll get a much better experience. No point rushing. Alright, so that wraps up my review of Assassin's Creed in general. Hope I managed to cover everything.